Absolutely brutal. Auburn blows a 10-point lead. They lose at home to Alabama.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day, especially in circumstances like this where none of us want to discuss the topic that is at hand. Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery Raider legend, hanging out with us. Auburn, at one point had a 10-point lead over Alabama. They blew it. They absolutely blew it. 96-92 loss at home against Alabama. Alabama went through stretches where they could not miss. Auburn had, honestly, a pretty solid offensive day, but perimeter defense, it just did not exist for the Auburn Tigers today, Darrell.
Yeah, this is the second year in a row that Alabama's come into Auburn's building and won the game. Obviously, that's not good, especially with the way Auburn typically plays at home. When you look at this game statistically, I think Auburn got mostly what it wanted, except what you talked about. They had more points in the paint. They limited their turnovers. Alabama turned it over so much more. Mm-hmm. Rebounding, Auburn out-rebounded. But at the end of the day, they were not effective guarding the perimeter. And this game was won like typically we've talked about before with previous Alabama teams behind the three-point line. And I think Alabama ended up hitting 13? Is that what it ended up being? 13 threes?
12 of 23.
12 of 23. That percentage is sizzling when you shoot it over 50%. And it's the reason why Auburn lost the basketball game. So was it a case of Auburn willing to not give up anything down low in the paint and concede the three? I think that's a fatal defensive strategy when you're playing Alabama. I'd rather see it reversed inside out where you're like, okay, we're going to take away the three. We're going to extend on you. We're going to run out at you and make you beat us in the paint. They didn't do that. And I think at the end of look what Auburn did offensively in the second half, Zach. They scored 50-something points in the second half?
51, yeah.
And if you tell me that Pettiford and Keyshawn Hall have the type of game they do, that Auburn scores 51 points in the second half, I think you win this game going away. But ultimately, they played to Bama's strengths. You get the game up in the 90s like this, and you'd rather have it a rock fight. You'd rather have it in the 70s, and they didn't. They weren't able to do that, and you nailed it. Perimeter defense lost this basketball game.
Perimeter defense, if I'm playing Auburn, I'm shooting threes every time you go down the floor. Why not? We have not been able to, especially against teams where that is their strength, and they just, throw up a bunch of threes. I don't. It's very frustrating.
In mind, Texas used that strategy to go up 8 against Auburn and then still had open looks in the second half against Auburn, but didn't hit them. And that's why Auburn was able to come back and win that game. The difference was Alabama sustained it. You hold Alabama to 37 points in the first half, you take that all day.
Yeah.
But they could not stop them in the second half. And look, some of the shots that were going in, some of that you couldn't do anything about.
No, they had 2 stretches in the second half where they just could not miss, for sure.
Yeah.
But, 59 points allowed in the second half is just – it's insane. It's insane. You're talking about Dahad and his 25 points. Something you say so often, and every time you say it, you're spot on when you say it. In fact, you use this to describe Sway in the first half as far as it's not how many points you score, it's when you score them. I also think it's on the other side of this. Like Dahad, 25 points, one of his more efficient games, 3 of 8 from 3, made all of his free throw attempts, had 7 assists. That's all great. But during that stretch with 4 or so minutes left to go, he looked lost. He was getting cooked on defense. He was doing weird things offensively. Steven Pearl is just yelling and getting in his grill, and Dahad is just not responding. It almost looks like he's ignoring him. And this isn't the same guy that we saw flourish in these moments when every possession felt like it mattered so much a year ago. Dahad was ready. It's when he looked his best. And it looks like he's crumbling when there's any sort of pressure. And now there's a lot of people in the chat. I've seen this on socials and all of that, like bench Dahad, bench Dahad. You can't. There's no one to bench him for. But the fact that we're in this situation and we misjudged Tahad throughout this offseason, I think that's a question that we've got to ask. How did this happen? How did we get to this point? Because there's layers to this. This is very frustrating for several different reasons. That makes it one of them. The fact that in crunch time, Aiden Holloway was more ready for the moment than Tahad Pettiford. That is one of the many things that are frustrating about this.
Yeah, Holloway was non-existent until the last 2 minutes, and then he got 6 of the biggest points in the game. When Alabama had their run, there were a couple times. Auburn only had 5 turnovers. Alabama had 12. But I don't think there wasn't a bigger turnover in this game than the one that Tahad had that made it from a 2-point game to a 4-point game, and Bediako got the turn. You cannot do that. You have a chance to come down.
You can't script any of it.
Yeah.
Tahad turn it over, Bediako steal, Aiden Holloway 3 in the corner gets fouled. Like, you can't script it any worse for us in that sequence.
That's just,
it's the worst.
It's
awful.
You have to hope that Auburn does and flips the script and does what Alabama did last year and go on the road to end the season and win on the road, because they're capable of doing that. They did it last year. But again, big moments, you have to have players that are supposed to be your primetime players come up in big moments. And Tahad had an opportunity there to tie the game or take the lead, and it goes the other direction. 4-point swing, turnover. Yeah, he got some garbage buckets late. I get it. You're down 6, you hit a shot, you hit a layup. When Alabama was basically conceding, right, in the last minute. So that's why the stat sheet got filled up. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how
I'm sorry, Darrell. You can say the same thing about Keyshawn Hall. Like, 24 points, that's good, but 22 shots that it took him to get there. 8 of 22, 1 of 6 from 3. And that's not counting the shots where he got to the free throw line, which he did a great job of doing that at the end of the game to kind of keep Auburn within that 4-point range down the stretch there. But he's got to be more efficient too. This 1-2 punch that we talked about all off season, they're not 1-2 punching consistently. And this one, it looks like it because 25 and 24, but the 24 for Hall was not efficient by any stretch of the imagination.
I think another thing I would point out that's really unacceptable is that Alabama played 3 games in 6 days. They played and got boat race Sunday at Florida. They had to struggle to beat Texas A&M Wednesday night and then come to Neville today, while Auburn had 1 game in that stretch and got to sit home and rest. And then you put up that kind of defensive performance.
You wasted it. You wasted it.
And there's no reason for that to happen. You were looking at Alabama losing 2 of 3, and they won 2 of 3 while you sat home and rest, and that's just unacceptable.
You had such a prime opportunity to put Alabama in a terrible spot and yourself into a fantastic spot the rest of the way. And it really felt like everything was trending that direction. You had a 10-point lead, and then it's just 3 after 3 after 3. It's just, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating for sure. All right, what's this mean moving forward? We jump into that in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Darrell, one more chance to get in on the action when it comes to football. The Seattle Seahawks, 4.5-point favorite in Super Bowl 60 against the New England Patriots. Anytime scorer, Kenneth Walker leads the way, then JSN, then Ramondre Stevenson. Hunter Henry at plus 230, I think is a little interesting. But check it all out at FanDuel. There's lines galore. There's lines for everything in the Super Bowl, and it's very, very fun. So there's no better way to follow the action than FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at TurboTax. TurboTax, Darrell, is how you filed your taxes earlier this week, right?
Yeah, got rid of it, got it done. Over. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about wanting a player to perform when the pressure's on in the moment. All you have to do is call them. That's TurboTax. You don't have to worry about efficiency or plus minus or anything. TurboTax has you covered. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year, just make sure you do it by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day, even in these very upsetting circumstances. Alabama beats Auburn 96-92. I mean, this is, I don't really feel like highlighting the positives. Darrell, do you want to? Is there anything you want to highlight that's positive from this?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of stretches where Auburn looked like a pretty good basketball team and was doing what they needed to do from a strategic standpoint. First half, got up 10, held Alabama under 40, had some offensive Overton. I mean, I would have liked to. I mean, there were some positives, okay, but the problem is you've got to sustain that. There's no excuse to lose this basketball game. This is not the Alabama team. This is an unranked Alabama team that was on the ropes, that had a lot of controversy swirling around it with Bediako. You had an opportunity to kind of, make them have lost 2 of 3, and you let them off the hook. You let them off the hook with the less than stellar defensive performance. So, Jovic kind of disappeared down the stretch. Nate Oates smugly stood at the podium yesterday and took a shot at Jovic, talking about it, called him a mercenary, talked about him, 4 year. He took a shot, and Jovic had a chance to shut him up, and he didn't. Yeah. He didn't. And so you have to look a little bit deep. Now, I have a way of thinking that karma comes around eventually. Be smug all you want. Everyone can celebrate. I get it. There's still a ruling that has to be held. But Auburn doesn't need to worry about all that. Auburn should have taken care of business on the floor and proved a point on the floor with Bediako out there. Yep. And they didn't. They're holding home court. And that's where you've got to do a little bit of a deep dive, soul searching wise, and say, all right, we had won 5 of 6. We were rolling. Yes, we lost at Tennessee. I get it. What's going on that we could sit and rest for a week and then put in this kind of defensive performance and allow them to come into your home floor and win the game? So not much positive. Any kind of positive that you had from this game from a recency bias goes away because of what happened in the second half.
Yeah, 100%. I think Keyshawn Murphy had some moments that looked good. I think Kevin Overton certainly had moments where, he seemed to have the most fight. I think he was either KO or Keyshawn Murphy that had the most fight as far as like the desire to win this game. Wasn't enough, obviously, but frustrating stuff. Okay. Now after losing 2 straight, Auburn now finds itself in a situation where all these games do matter a little bit more. On Tuesday, you host Vanderbilt at 6 p.m. Saturday, you go to Arkansas. Next week, you go to Mississippi State. And then you host Kentucky at home the following Saturday. And then on Tuesday, the 24th, you go to Oklahoma for an 8 o'clock tip on a Tuesday night because everybody loves that. So over the next 5 games, Darrell, what do you think the record is? Obviously, Vandy and Arkansas ranked. Kentucky is tricky. And then you also got 3 road games sprinkled in there. So,
yeah, this is, you wanted to come out of this 7-5. That you're 5-5 right now. That Arkansas game is gonna be tough. I think Auburn, what you can't have happen is let this loss count for 2. You can't go Tuesday night and let Vanderbilt come on your home floor and beat you. You have to bounce back, and I think that'll happen. I see a scenario where Auburn goes 3-2 in these next 5.
Yeah, I'll say 3-2 as well. It's a thin line between 2 and 3, but I'm just assuming somebody in that locker room takes what just happened today and they say from their own personal pride point of view, like, we can't let that happen again. We can't let that happen again against Vanderbilt. We can't let that happen again on our floor against a Kentucky team that's not that great. And we'll see what happens on the road when they go to Arkansas,
you think about this
Mississippi State and to Oklahoma.
I don't know because I don't have it pulled up. I don't know where that Oklahoma Vanderbilt game was, but Vanderbilt just suffered a bad loss to Oklahoma. They fought back. They were getting blown out, And I think they lost by 1. Is that what they ended up losing by?
Yeah, 92-91. That game was home for Vandy.
Oh, okay. So that's surprising. I would have thought that would have been in Norman. So that's a bad loss. To lose to the bottom feeder of the SEC on your home floor is a bad loss. So how does Vanderbilt respond to that? How do they come in to Neville Tuesday? Do they come in angry, back against the wall, refocused? Or do they come in licking their wounds a little bit? Because remember, this is a team that lost 3 in a row to start the season in the SEC, or at some point during the SEC season lost 3 in a row. Vanderbilt got it right again. So that will be interesting to see how they come into Neville Tuesday and what kind of performance they put up after a bad home loss.
Yep. All right. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We will see you guys next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.